does this shit work? Oh, what the f? Oh, it's actually kind of cool. I could literally just zoom into my ugly ass fucking face. Certified YouTuber. Of course, by the quality of the fucking video, you guys could already tell. I bought a $1,000 camera. I did it again. Just spent $1,000 on a camera, and it didn't even come with an SD card, a memory card, whatever. I had to wait like another 3 days in order to get this fucking memory card. Sony, do better. Anyways, I haven't uploaded in a while. Okay, it's been like 2 or 3 fucking weeks, and it's because midterms have been kicking me in the ass. I have been working day and night.
And I work like a dog day and night, living off of coffee from a pot none of you want to touch.
And I am back on track. So, are you someone who is always scrolling on TikTok when you should be doing your work? Or maybe it's 3 in the fucking morning and you should be sleeping because it's a fucking school night, but you're just there scrolling on TikTok and you're like, you know what, 15 more minutes. And then it starts to become 3 in the morning and then suddenly it's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning and you still haven't slept. Or you have that one bad habit that you just can't stop doing. And yes, by this, I mean literally sucking and inhaling on a colorful stick that probably has like 108 different Chinese chemicals in it. Smoking plants, doing shrooms or whatever, and having to keep buying lotion every single fucking week. And I'm guessing you have also tried to stop these bad habits or whatever by watching 3 AM fucking motivation videos like these. And then some of them do actually work, but most of them don't.
Oh God, they try to drown me in this hole. I cannot see.
But the ones that do get this random spike of motivation at 3 in the fucking morning. You start doing push-ups, you start arranging your room all around, and then you start waking up the entire fucking house, and then you get an ass whooping of your life. Yeah, that was me. And then this 3 AM motivation, just suddenly stops working. And then slowly, days after days, or maybe even after 24 fucking hours, okay? You start slowly getting temptations on going back on your addiction. And then you suddenly find yourself inhaling on a gummy bear, Sour Patch Kid, raspberry, blueberry, triple berry, cranberry, strawberry, watermelon, blueberry, lychee, mango, pineapple, ice. Well, luckily for you, the reason why you relapsed or you just can't get your work done because you're always on your phone isn't because it keeps drawing you to it and it is completely impossible to get rid of it. And it's also not because you're a weak son of a bitch. It was probably because you haven't had the steps to break those bad habits. And now what I mean by bad habits is there are actual steps that actually help you become a better person and break your bad habit. Now I would know this because I am literally living proof of that person. Little backstory, I used to be a failing student averaging around like 30s and 40s, okay? I had a nicotine addiction with vapes. I was smoking plants. I got close to doing shrooms, but I didn't do shrooms. I was a procrastinator. And of course, I used to be a certified TikTok scroller at 3 in the fucking morning. You see, last year I got around 4 if I'm lucky, 5 me on a good day, and I would average around 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Fast forward, I have stopped my addictions complete, all of my vaping addictions, nicotine, and also my bad habits where I won't be able to get work done. If you guys want to learn how to stop procrastinating, literally watch my video that was made a few weeks ago here or over here. I get 8 hours of sleep, 8 to 10, 8 on weekdays on school days, 10 usually on weekends. I was able to be the best version of myself. And the reason why this video is created, because I want you guys to also learn from this, okay? I'm not telling you guys to take all the steps out, all of the tricks that I've done. No, don't follow in my footsteps. That never works for everyone. Now, what are these steps I keep dick writing about? Well, these 4 steps, of course, like I said, come from Atomic Habits by James Clear, right? Now, a little summary about the book. It talks about 4 steps on how you can break your bad habits, but also 4 steps on how you can create and replace those bad habits. A really famous quote from the book, tiny changes, remarkable results. By that, James Clear means be 1% better, okay? Because the smaller changes leads to bigger results. But the changes you do every day seem so small that you don't even notice that you're changing. If you become 1% better than who you were yesterday for a year, that's 365% better than who you were last year. But again, the problem with this and the risky part is if you become 1% worse than who you were yesterday for a year, you would be 365% worse than who you were last year. Smaller changes leads to bigger results. Now again, what are the 4 steps to breaking bad habits? Number 1, make it invisible. Step number 2, make it unattractive. Step number 3, make it difficult. Step number 4 is to make it unsatisfying. Enough talking. Step number 1 is to make it invisible. It's kind of like how it sounds. You want to limit your exposure to that thing that is the source of your bad habit. Think of it like this. The less you see it, the less you will think about it. The less you will do it. So an example of this would be your phone, right? Using your phone during work time. If you're trying to stop procrastinating, stop scrolling on TikTok, stop sending messages, and just stick to doing your work during work time because your time is limited, what you want to do, remove it from your desk, put it in a different room, or just leave it in a closet or something, because doing this will hide triggers from seeing your phone. Because if you see your phone, you're gonna be like, I wonder who's texting me or what's going on right now. But then that usually leads to you just scrolling on TikTok. Now, if you have a really bad sleep schedule where you find yourself scrolling on TikTok at 3 in the fucking morning, what you can actually do is put a timer at 10, or usually when you're supposed to wake up. Let's say you have to wake up at 8. You put your timer at 10 p.m. the night before so that you know that you shouldn't be on TikTok. And even better, you should put a time limit on your phone. And I will show you guys a pop-up on the screen right now what the time limit looks like. You just gotta add this feature from your settings, where I say around 1 hour to 30 minutes only a day. This reduced my screen time drastically. I mean, I'm barely on TikTok or Reels for more than 30 minutes. And so another thing is, if you're trying to quit vaping, you're trying to quit doing weed, smoking weed, doing whatever, get rid of it out of your room. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I know people, well, I used to know people who would literally keep their empty vape boxes inside a drawer. They would keep their dead vapes, dead pods inside their drawers and keep them like if they're a fucking trophy. Like, no, that's not a fucking trophy. You're literally breathing in dead batteries every time you enter your room. And as far as we know, there's probably residue of like 108 different chemicals that they produce in there. First step, remove it from your room, especially if you have any of those trophies in your drawers. So you might have heard this saying where if you hang out with 2 smokers, you will become the 3rd smoker. If you hang out with 2 people who drink, you will become the 3rd drinker, and so on, so on, so on. This goes the same for the opposite. If you hang out with 2 people who are trying to improve themselves, you will be the 3rd one trying to improve yourself. If you hang out with 2 people who are successful at, let's say, being entrepreneurs, you will suddenly become the 3rd entrepreneur. And so what I'm trying to tell you guys is that be careful who you hang around. And I said this in my previous video where I said that your environment influences to do what you do. And so hanging out with people who are constantly vaping or whatever, even if they're just hiding it out of respect when you guys are hanging out, you know that they still have it on them. You know that they still vape. And of course, it might not seem like it, but you at some point you will feel left out. I'm not saying to drop your friend immediately or whatever, especially if you've known them for a really long time, right? No, I'm saying to pick your environment cautiously. This might seem like a horrible idea, but think about it. At the end of the day, it's about your future versus their future. Step number 2 is to make it unattractive. Now, how exactly do we make something like a bad habit that we do unconsciously or an addiction that we do unconsciously unattractive? The answer is simple. Change the way that you think about that bad habit. Now, I want you guys to take a piece of paper and pen out, and I just want you to list out the benefits of avoiding that specific bad habit or that addiction that you have, especially the ones that you want to stop doing first. Now, some benefits of not vaping, in my opinion, are not spending $20 to $40 on a fucking vape every week, saving my lungs from the future, so no popcorn lungs. And actually, when going back to this topic about lungs and damaged lungs, I used to hang out with this group where this girl would literally breathe like if she's Darth Vader, okay? This. And so I thought she actually had like a chronic disease or like some type of disease that like bronchitis or whatever, right? And she would normally cough a lot. And so I asked her out of like respect, do you have a disease or like have an illness that you're dealing with right now, like bronchitis or whatever? She said no. And I said, then do you have asthma? And then she said, no. And so I was like, how long have you been vaping then? She said 4 years, since she was in 8th grade. And I just straight up stared at her while I heard her breathing like Darth Vader. So if you don't want to like Darth Vader by the time you graduate college, uni, or even high school, maybe you should add this to the list. Moving forward, this one's more personal, where I prefer to be more healthier, I be more fit, be athletic for any circumstances. Like if I need to run, like because someone's like trying to kill me or something. Of course, that's pretty unrealistic, but you know, you still have to be naturally ready for any situation in the future. And the reason why this is so personal is because I lift really heavy. Every time I would push my weight up and get ready for the next rep, I wouldn't have enough oxygen in my system to prepare myself. So I was like basically struggling to breathe every rep that I did. And so I couldn't push to my full potential, which affected my training, which therefore affected how I look. Moving forward, living past 35. If my school ever had a high school reunion after 20 years from now, half of them wouldn't even be there because they're probably dead. If you want to go way deeper into the subject, especially with like school and doing your work, let's talk about procrastination. When you think about procrastination, you think about not wanting to do a specific type of work. You need to think, what negative side effects do I get from always procrastinating, always pushing back my work until the last day? You might want to write things like, you're always going to have a sense of falling behind. Number 2, you become unorganized. You start to develop an unorganized personality the more you push things back. So by this, I mean, let's say you had a 3-day assignment and it's due on the 3rd day. If you wait until the 3rd day to actually do that assignment, right? You might think to yourself, the first 2 days you have it all to yourself. No, because at the back of your mind, you're always going to be like, oh, that assignment, I have to do that assignment 2 days and 1 day tomorrow. But if you do it on the 1st day, if you finish the 1st day, those 2 days after will be stress-free. You won't have anything at the back of your mind telling you that you have something that you need to do. You create a habit of always being late. And from this, it will not only affect the time it takes for you to hand in your work, it will start to affect the times you get to meetings, the times you get to your hangouts with your friends. Basically, your life just becomes so unorganized that you don't even have a schedule anymore. Now, step number 3 is to make it difficult. Now, what I mean by making it difficult is to create friction between you and that bad habit or that addiction you're trying to get rid of. So for example, creating friction between you and your phone during work time. If you already have your phone on your desk while you're doing your work, it takes only 1 step to just pick up your phone. But if you put your phone in a different room, that gives you such a big friction already. You have to get up, get out of your room, that's step 1, go into the other room, that's step 2, and then go back to your room, that's step 3. Okay, in that time period, you will have the time to think to yourself, should I just finish my work before I go on my phone? Because by doing this, it will also improve your workflow because you won't have a phone in sight. You won't have any triggers that tell you to go on your phone. And if you want to take it to an extent, you could literally give it to a roommate, a partner, a family member, and ask them to only give it to you when you have finished your work. Because by doing this, you create even more friction. Now, moving back to the topic of vapes, once you have finished step 1 where you removed it from your room entirely, that is the biggest friction you have ever made already. That's the biggest accomplishment. And there will always come a time when you will get tempted to relapse. And of course, I would know this because I was literally 1% away from relapsing on nicotine, but I never did. And how I did this was I went back to step number 2 where I made it unattractive. This friction where you have to ask a dealer if they can deliver to your house and whatever, right? That is a big friction. And the same goes for if you're the legal age and you're trying to go buy a vape from a vape store. Getting to your car or just walking to the vape store, a big friction, okay? Now, in that time period, do step number 2, highlight the benefits of not doing that specific addiction. I did this and it completely worked. Next time you're about to text your local dealer or head to the vape store, think to yourself and choose wisely of the decisions you're about to make. Last but not least, step number 4, to make it unsatisfying. Now, what is the difference between step number 2 and step number 4, which is make it unsatisfying? Well, step number 4 is more about making your bad habits painful and public if you ever relapse. And this might sound a little weird. What I mean by that is you need to find a partner that will hold you accountable for your actions, especially the bad ones. Find yourself a partner that will tell you when you are about to go down a bad path, where you're about to make a bad decision, and also get a partner that will watch your behavior. Now, another thing I want to talk about in step number 4 is something called a habit contract. A habit contract is an agreement that you make with someone, or at least a couple people, right? This could be friends, family members, and maybe even your partner. And so if you break the agreement and you go back to doing your bad habits, the consequence would be you would have to pay them a certain amount of money for the bad decisions that you did because you broke the contract. And you need to put something on the line that's financially painful to you, that it will literally make it so unsatisfying that you will not want to do it anymore. So in the book Atomic Habits, there is an entrepreneur by the name of Brian Harris. And so Brian, after the birth of his son, he noticed that his physique had unwanted weight. And so his idea was to make a habit contract between his wife and his personal trainer. He couldn't miss his nutrient goals, so carbs, proteins, fats, and so on, right? He couldn't miss those or else he would have to suffer a consequence. He couldn't miss a run throughout the week. If he didn't even weigh himself every day, he would also have to suffer the consequence. And so of course, we're not perfect. Brian was slacking off, and so I'm pretty sure he missed protein goal, but long story short, he messed up, he was slacking off, and so he had to suffer his consequence. $100 went to his personal trainer. $500 that was enough to make him financially hurt went straight to his wife, where he told her that she could spend it on anything as she liked.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk.
And so, of course, a few days later, he saw his wife with a new purse, and that painfully hurt him because he knows that $500 literally could have went to better use. And so from then on, that hurt him so bad that he literally shred off all his unwanted fat by the end of the year. Now, I'm not saying to give your partner or whatever like $500. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. Put something on the line financially. Put money on the line as a consequence, but make sure that it's not just like $5 or something. Okay, you need to make sure that it is enough to make you financially hurt. If the stakes are higher, you are less likely to do it. Now again, this could literally be a friend, a personal trainer, you know, a family member, a partner. Now of course, this is just a short summary about the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is the way to go. So now that you know the steps, you need to replace them with good habits as well, so that you become a better person, a better version of yourself, and you don't risk the chance of going back to your bad habits. So if you guys want to know the 4 other steps creating good habits, stay tuned because that's probably going to be in my next video, if not the next video. So until then, peace out. I can't believe I spent $1,000 on a camera.